to get down to business? Join seasoned entrepreneur, community leader, and Army veteran Scott Shalom Klein, who will take you behind the scenes with those who work in America's small business scene and speak with leaders making an impact, creating jobs, and telling their story in entrepreneurship. So let's get down to business. On AM 560, The Answer, here's your host, Shalom Klein.
And indeed, we're all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship and business. We talk all about small business here, and I'm absolutely thrilled to kick up the program with an executive leadership coach and facilitator with more than 23 years in corporate leadership and over 10,000 hours of face-to-face coaching experience. Erika Alessandrini is the author of the new book, Maybe It's Me, Looking Inward to Create Real Change Through Conscious Choices. After burning out in the corporate world, Erika walked away to build a new model of success, one that achieves peak results without sacrificing peace and satisfaction. Let's talk all about that, as well as her 7 conscious questions framework. Erika, you spent over 23 years in executive leadership and hit a point of massive personal burnout. What was the exact mirror moment in your corporate career where you looked at the chaos around you and finally had the courage to say, maybe it's me?
Thank you for the question. I don't know that I had the courage to say maybe it's me, but I had someone who believed in me enough to ask me to do some work on myself.
That's powerful. Well, we'll get into that. You talk about survival strategies that once served us, but eventually turn into self-sabotage. How would you say a highly successful entrepreneur can distinguish between a healthy drive that builds a business and an unconscious pressure pattern that's quietly destroying their team?
So what's hard for a business owner or a leader to see is when something stops working for them, right? If we look at the things that make us great, most of us will overplay our strengths or will overuse things and not realize that they've stopped working for us and started working against us. And as business owners, we tend to be looking more at the scoreboard, the bottom line. We measure a lot of things, but we don't measure the cost of that chronic pressure and what it's doing in our lives, in our relationships, and in our results.
Absolutely. And another major trap is the illusion that it's just temporary. We're all waiting for things to just calm down next week. Why is this temporary mindset the exact mechanism that pushes our core values and the people we care about most to the back burner permanently?
Because it's the story we have to tell ourselves to keep going. It's the only story that makes sense in a world where the pressure's high and we have a lot of responsibility, and it gives us the runway we think we need.
Indeed. Your framework centers on 7 conscious questions. I alluded to that in the show intro. When a leader is in the middle of a high-pressure crisis, how does pausing to ask, what is the whole truth, even if it's inconvenient, how does that completely change their decision architecture?
So the pause is the big thing. So thank you for pointing that out. We have to pause before any of this will work for us. Those 7 questions that follow, the one you speak of in particular, question 4, what it does is it allows us to get grounded in reality. Most of us are more aware of what we fear is true, the story that we're telling ourselves, the story we peddle, right, in the moment, and we're not aware of what is actually the truth in the moment. And without truth, it's going to be really, really hard to move forward in a really responsible, in what I would call a clean responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, I'm chatting with Erika Alessandrini, and she is the author of the new book, Maybe It's Me, Looking Inward to Create Real Change Through Conscious Choices. It is a great read, and in a couple of minutes, we'll make sure, of course, our listeners can find it. And Erika, you're right about taking 100% personal responsibility and allowing others to do the same. How does a leader transition from a command and control rescuer to someone who safely distributes shared power across their executive team?
It starts by really understanding what you can and can't control and giving up the illusion of trying to change or alter reality. When reality doesn't suit our narrative and it doesn't match our expectations, we tend to put all of our focus and our energy on trying to change the unchangeable. And when we give up that desire, if you will, to change our reality or bend it to fit what we need it to be, and focus instead on either accepting a situation as it is, making peace and moving on, or staying within our zone of control or influence to make a difference and change the outcome. That's what clean responsibility looks like. But most of us, because the pressure's high, the stakes are high, we don't want to let go of the things that we don't want to put at risk. And so we overreach, we end up overextended, we take on more than our fair share. And then the flip side of that is that we perpetuate the problem of being overcommitted because we're not developing others, we're creating dependency, learned helplessness. We're creating the prison we live in when we do that.
Erika, your ecosystem includes 36 practical, evidence-based strategies to bridge insight with action. When a leader's nervous system is totally hijacked by stress, what's one immediate tactical strategy that they could use at their desk to regain clarity?
The immediate thing is to pause and breathe. Make that the first word, if you will, or the first moment, a breath. We have to hit pause. And we know when our nervous system is being hijacked. We know what that feels like. We know what's coming. So we've got to hit pause and find one way to slow down that process, to get in front of our natural inclination to do something immediately or say something immediately. So it's the pause.
Absolutely. Erika, you are known for blending candor with compassion, acting as both a truth teller and as an ally. In your 10,000 hours of coaching, how do you deliver a hard, inconvenient truth to a high-performing leader without making them default to a survival strategy of defensiveness?
I think the main thing is being a reflective agent, to hold up a mirror in a way that says, I see you, I get you, and is this what you want? Right? Is this the life, the business, the results that you really want? And if so, the conversation's over. There's nothing to fix if somebody else doesn't identify the problem. My job is to hold up that mirror, help them see that reflection in the most caring and compassionate way, but also without letting them escape the image they see.
And Erika, you mentioned that your faith is your motivation and your faith is your fuel. In the middle of corporate chaos, how did you lean on your faith to make the conscious, difficult choice to step away and choose peace?
So I think for a lot of high performers, there's a need to be strong and push on in spite of any circumstance. And I was no different. And so the scripture I go to most is 2 Corinthians, when Paul writes about the thorn in his side, asking God to remove the thorn out of his flesh. And the idea there is, he goes on to say, for when I am weak, I am strong. And I think that's the thing most of us need to do, is let our guard down, ask for help, let a few things go, work with reality, work with others, and stop trying to carry everything alone.
Erika, lastly, if somebody's listening today and they feel completely stuck, overwhelmed, and blamed by their team, what's the first conscious choice they should make tonight to regain their peace without sacrificing their results?
The first question is, what am I feeling and what are my emotions signaling? Because there's so much rich data in understanding how you're feeling.
Amazing. Erika, really enjoyed our conversation over here. And I know you've got this new book that I want to make sure our listeners that they can find and they can purchase it and hopefully get in touch with you and maybe even invite you out to speak. How can they do so?
Beautiful. Thank you. The book is Maybe It's Me, available everywhere books are sold and at maybeitsmebook.com. And if you run a business or lead a team, you can find me at aileron.org. where we build a business. And if you run a business or lead a team, find me at aileron.org, where we help you build a business that lasts forever and can run without you.
Fantastic. Erika, really, really enjoyed the conversation. I've learned a lot from you, and I look forward to continuing to learn from you. As always, we are the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. We've got a jam-packed show in store for you here today. Be sure to check out my website, syklein.com. Check out your favorite podcast app. Just search for Get Down to Business. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review, and share. But don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.